right, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. My name is Steve, your always humble host. In this episode, this would be what, episode 210? I guess better look to make sure before I say that. We'll just go with it. Anyway, in this episode, we're going to do a little bit of history, and we're going to talk about some modern stuff. With the research, man, if I can communicate. It's been like 2 weeks. I'm sorry, folks. Did a little bit of research. Spent some time watching a lot of Four Boxes Diner. If you haven't had a chance to follow that guy on YouTube, Mark Smith, one of my favorite YouTube channels because he actually knows what he's talking about, and he goes into the legal side and the history side of our Second Amendment, and it's fantastic. Let's jump to the history lesson first, okay? First of all, what does the Second Amendment say? Okay? And why is it the Second Amendment? Why did the Founding Fathers feel the need to put it as the second thing that's most important as a citizen's right, okay, the public's right, and a restriction against the government at the same time? It's not a governmental right, okay? It's important that we understand this. So I'm going to read it so I don't screw it up. I know I should have it memorized, but here we are. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So why are we starting with the Second Amendment? You've heard it before. I've talked about it before. But it's important that we understand where we get the Second Amendment and what the Second Amendment is talking about. Okay? So it's broken down into two different segments. There's the prefatory clause, which is what this right is talking about, and then the operative clause, who this right is granted to. So this amendment is talking about the regulated militia. Okay? And then after that cute little comma, it talks about the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Meaning the government has no ability, has no authoritative power to take away the right of its people to keep and bear arms. Okay? I'm pretty sure all of us already understand this, but I think it's important that we revisit this so you get it ingrained within you. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, both to keep, meaning to own, to possess, and to bear, meaning to carry on one's person. Okay? To keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, a lot of the lefties and the anti-gunners are going to say, well, listen, Steve. It talks about the militia. It's the army. It is the National Guard, which didn't exist at the time. Well, maybe we need to understand a little bit more about the militia. Maybe you guys, as well as me, often starve ourselves for the knowledge of what was the militia at the point of the founding. And Mark over there at Four Boxes helped me learn a little bit. I'm going to pop a top here because I can already tell this is going to get a little saucy. Please don't overflow. Trash can. All right. I found this pretty interesting. I didn't know this existed. And maybe you didn't know it existed either. The Militia Act of 1792. President George Washington signed this in as law. Okay? What is the Militia Act? So I'll link this in on the show notes. This is from George Washington's Mount Vernon. It's a website that I've actually referenced before on the show because George Washington was an amazing president and an amazing man, nonetheless. Like just an amazing person altogether. Now, this obviously, hence the term Militia Act, is talking about the militia, what the militia was and understood at the time of the founding. Why is that important? Why do we need to understand what a militia was at the time of the founding and not what the militia is in modern interpretation? Do you think words, the meaning of words change over time? Absolutely. Like there's some words I can't say on here because I'll get that meant something totally different back, even a few years ago. But apparently we can't say them now because it's offensive, which is fine. I don't care. Now, this is very interesting, okay? And I'm not going to read this whole bill. I did read the whole bill. I just got to find my spot now. Let's see. This is about, and it goes into everything. What the militia is for, who's supposed to be in the militia, and that's what I was trying to find here. I probably should have marked it before I pulled it up. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I'm going to read this one. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that each and every free, able-bodied white male citizen of the respective states resident therein, who is or shall be of the age of 18 years and under the age of 45, so between 18 and 45, shall severally, and respectively be enrolled in the militia by the captain or the commanding officer of the company, within the bounds of such citizens shall reside, and that within 12 months of passing this act, and it shall be at all time hereafter by the duty of every such captain or commanding officer of a company to enroll every such citizen as foresaid, and also those who shall from time to time arrive at the age of 18 years old, or being that of the age of 18 and under the age of 45, shall come to reside within his bounds, shall without delay notify such citizen of said enrollment by the proper of non-commissioned officer. Let's go. Oh, here's what I want to talk about. Skip down a couple words here. Next sentence. That every citizen, okay, again, able-bodied male, 18 to 45, that every citizen so enrolled and notified shall, within 6 months thereafter, now this is important, okay? Commit this to memory, shall provide himself with a good musket or firelock, a sufficient bayonet and belt, 2 spare flints, a knapsack, a pouch, with a box therein to contain not less than 24 cartridges, suited for the bore of the musket or firelock. Okay, so why did I want to bring this up? So, a lot of the anti-gun movement says that the militia is, like I said, the standing military force, be it like the National Guard of the day. And that citizens don't have the right to own a gun, but it's the military's or the government's job to issue a firearm to those within the National Guard, like we have now. So they're taking a modern understanding of something that is not the equivalent of the militia back in the day and saying that that is how it was written and that's what was meant. But according to George Washington and all of Congress, apparently, that a militia is a citizen. In this case, what congregates as the militia is an 18 to 45-year-old male who's able to serve in some way, has to provide his own musket, his own firelock, pistol, bayonet, knapsack, and whatever. And the more you read this bill, you also understand that a lot of these people within the militia, if they're different, whether grenadier or dragoon or whatever they were, if you read, they have to provide their own horse as well. That's funny, because their logic states, modern anti-gun logic states, that the government issued all this stuff to the militia because the militia was a government body. No. The militia was a volunteer force. Well, kind of volunteer, right? You still had to, kind of like the selective services now, they still had to say, yeah, I'm 18 and I'm able and physically able to serve, and I have a firearm and I have all this other stuff, I can serve. The people had to buy their own firearms. The militia was a citizen volunteer army. Now, another thing that the Militia Act does is the president has the ability to call on the militia whenever necessary. If some kind of a tyrannical, well, it doesn't say tyrannical government, so I'm not going to say that. Strike that. That if some sort of opposing force overwhelms a state, the president had the ability to call on the militia within the state or surrounding states to resolve an issue. Why did we have militias? Because the government didn't have a large military to handle issues. During our fight for independence, it was privateers, it was volunteers, it was hunters. It was men who committed their lives to be free, that we could be free, because they understood the importance of freedom and of self-defense. How does that apply to us now? Why would I even feel like this is important to talk about? Because we all need to understand that the militia argument is not accurate. Another phrase they like to attack is regulated. Now, the term regulated, we understand now, is something like the FCC regulates communication on radio, right? They make sure that no bad words are being said and fines or licensing fees are being paid or whatnot. But the term regulated did not mean that back then. Now, you can go and actually look up what Webster's Dictionary said as close to that time period as possible. And what you're going to learn is it's well trained. That they understand how to function as a unit. The term regulars, right? Maybe have you seen the Patriot, right? When they call them the regulars, right? The British, the regulars were just the regular army. Regular citizens, not officers. A well-regulated militia was a group that understand how to work as a unit. They were constantly trained. And they understood how to be proficient, I guess is no better way to put it. Look it up. You don't have to take my word for it. Look up the oldest Webster's Dictionary reference to regulated as you can. Don't take my word for it. Anyway, I found that rather interesting. Okay? Which kind of doesn't even really relate what I want to talk about next, but we're going to talk about it anyways. And this could get really frustrating. This could get really bad. I don't know, did we talk about Bruen yet? So, I'm sure you guys remember the Bruen was about a year and a half ago now. I don't remember how long ago. The New York Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. And what an amazing Supreme Court ruling there was with the Bruen case. Saying, no, you have to go back to tradition, an understanding of the original document, the Constitution, and reference that to today. Basically saying that any modern gun control did not exist, and therefore it cannot exist within reason, right? We have the NFA, whether we like it or not, it exists, and Bruen didn't strike that down. That didn't go against the ATF's NFA rules or anything, whether we like it or not. It just simply stated that whenever you make a new rule, a new law, you have to go back to the founding and see how it applied then, and if you can apply that same logic now. And I'm probably wrong on that, but look it up yourself. Again, don't take my opinion as fact all the time, but there's a lot of truth in my opinion at the same time. So, jump back to modern times. Our friends in Washington State have a major battle ahead of them. Their state has gone completely wacko when it comes to gun control. They have just voted in the strictest gun control laws in the country, both the House and the Senate, and both bills are exactly the same. I read through them both, and they're really frustrating. We're going to visit this bill. In this case, it's House Bill 1240. Again, our friends in Washington State. I don't know when this takes effect. I'm sure there's going to be a run on gun stores for folks to try and get their firearms. But this is absolutely radical and ridiculous, and it spits in the face of the Supreme Court. And it pees on the Constitution. Again, understand that The Second Amendment is within the Bill of Rights, not the Constitution. It's within the Bill of Rights. And they are God-given, essential, fundamental rights for each citizen in the United States. Okay? It doesn't grant the government to make whatever laws they want against your right to defend yourself and to own a firearm. It does not. And there's a reference of the government being restricted in the Bill of Rights as well. Look at the Third Amendment about boarding troops. The government can't do that. Okay? There's evidence of restrictions within the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights grants you and me the fundamental right to defend ourselves. Not to go hunting. It doesn't designate what guns can be restricted. It doesn't do that. And we can't go back and say, well, they didn't have AR-15s and so that doesn't exist. Well, if that's your logic, then we can't make the argument televised or anything more than within person and not any kind of digital or electronical Bushism correspondence. Everything would have to be done with pen and quill, and it'd take years to figure out. That logic doesn't fit. All right, back to, there's going to be a lot of tangents, folks. I'm sorry. Back to House Bill 1240 in the state of Washington. Let's just jump right in. Washington. What happened? What happened to you guys? It was a pretty state. An act relating to the establishing firearms-related safety measures to increase public safety by prohibiting the manufacture, importation, distribution, selling, and offering for sale of assault weapons by providing limited exemptions applicable to licensed firearm manufacturers and dealers for the purpose of sale to armed forces branch and law enforcement agencies for the purpose of sale or transfer outside of the state, and to inheritors reenacting and amending. Okay, then it goes through other stuff. Okay, be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Washington. The legislature finds and declares that gun violence is a threat to public health and safety of Washingtonians. So you're going to hear that over and over again. We hear it now, right? Firearms are a public health risk. Why do they keep calling it a public health risk? Because the more they can create this, this seemingly outlook that gun violence is rampant in the United States, which it's not. It's more than it needs to be, but it's not this crazy thing that they're making it up to be. But they're creating a health epidemic. What that does is that offers other agencies the power to put their little tentacles into things and cause more problems. Like the CDC. Okay? There's more to this than just fancy words. Assault weapons are civilian versions of weapons created for military and are designed to kill humans quickly and efficiently. For this reason, the legislature finds that assault weapons are like M16 rifles and thus are weapons most useful in military service. Not one AR-15 has ever been issued to any military in the world ever. Come on. Assault weapons have been used in the deadliest mass shootings in the last decade. An assailant with an assault rifle can hurt and kill twice the number of people than an assailant with a handgun or a non-assault rifle. This is because the additional features of the assault weapon are not merely cosmetic. Rather, these are features that allow shooters to fire large numbers of rounds quickly. An analysis of mass shootings that result in 4 or more deaths found that 85% of these fatalities were caused by an assault weapon. Now, did you hear the twist of words here? They went from assault rifle to an assault weapon. Why is that important? Because they're going to redefine the term assault weapon to include shotguns and handguns. we've already talked about that when it came to the assault weapons ban that they wanted to enact federally. It included semi-automatic handguns and semi-automatic shotguns. That's why there was 85% of people were shot with assault weapons, not assault rifles. Okay? There's a difference. Pay attention. The legislature also finds that this regulation is likely to have an impact on the number of mass shootings committed in Washington. My guess is they're going to go up. Then they talk about, well, during the assault weapons ban in the 90s, mass shootings went down. That's inaccurate. We'll talk about that in another show. Moreover, the legislature finds that, let's see, find my place, finds that assault weapons are not suitable for self-defense. That studies show that assault weapons are statistically not used in self-defense. That's funny. Because they say, well, all these shootings happen with assault weapons, which we just talked about are shotguns, handguns, and AR-15 style rifles. But they're never used in self-defense? That's bullshit, folks. We've talked about the CDC scrubbing the study they did in 2011 under Barack Obama, who was trying to enact another assault weapons ban. They found that defensive gun use happens millions of times a year. I think I saved that article somewhere on my computer upstairs. I'll have to dig it out. I hope I saved it. Thousands of times a day, firearms are used in defense of life. Thousands of times. And we can't computate how many lives were saved, like number of lives were saved in these instances all combined. But it's far more than lives taken. Okay? All right. And they say that they're not used in self-defense. Come on. The legislature finds that assault weapons are not commonly used in self-defense and that any proliferation is not the result of the assault weapons being well suited for self-defense, hunting, or sporting purposes. I know a lot of people that hunt with an AR-15, as long as their state allows it. Okay, because some states don't allow anything to shoot smaller than 22 caliber, 22 or smaller, which an AR-15 is a 22. So dumb. Rather, increased sales are this is fantastic. Increased sales are the result of the gun industry's concerted efforts to sell more guns to a civilian market. No gun salesman, gun manufacturer, gun tuber has been more effective at selling firearms than any Democrat politician. Barack Obama had record sales under his regime. And look at Mr. Biden. Record gun sales. I wonder why. Because citizens know that they have a right to keep their guns, and they're worried that the left is going to take away that right, so they buy more. And then the left lets out convicts that do violent crime because they we can't keep them in jail, and we won't charge them bail either, just let them go. And then we see countless acts of violence caused by these people. It blows my mind. Or they want to defund the police departments, but don't say they did. They'll say, no, we didn't do that. Or they'll let the riots, like the BLM riots, happen. Kyle Rittenhouse had to use his AR-15 in defense of his life. There's one for sure, but it's not the only one. All right. I just think it's hilarious. Well, it's the gun industry has been working overtime selling these guns. When was the last time you saw a commercial about Daniel Defense on TV? About Palmetto State Armory on TV? Never. At least not for years, anyways. Let's see. The legislator finds that the gun industry has specifically marketed these weapons as tactical. Hypermasculine. I've never heard anybody call anything hypermasculine before. Maybe Bud Light now, I guess. I don't know. Military style. They don't call it military style. In a manner that overtly appeals to troubled young men intent on becoming the next mass shooter. Troubled young men. You mean like the last several? What is it, the last 9 that have been televised, anyways, that we've heard about? That now that might not be 9. I can't remember for sure now. That have some severe mental dysphoria, sexual dysphoria. Tennessee. That wasn't an isolated incident. Hypermasculine. So dumb. The legislator intends to limit the perspective of sale of assault weapons while allowing existing legal owners to retain assault weapons that they currently own. I guarantee that they are going to come down with another scheme to take away those guns as well. They'll do some kind of red flag law. They're going to do... And look, they're not the only ones that are dealing with this. Governor Gretchen Whitmer just did another sweeping gun control bill in her state too, so bless her heart. Anyways, so they go through and they're going to define what an assault weapon is. They can never define what an assault weapon is. But here it is. This is what they're defining as assault weapon. And they go through a list of 32, nope. Oh no. Some 60 guns here. AK-47 in all forms. AK-74 in all forms. Algemec, I don't even know what that is. American Arms. Any AR-15, M16, or M4. AR-180s. LSR. Australian Automatic, I have no idea what that is. Auto Ordnance. A Thompson, even in semi-automatic. Any Barrett. Any Barrett. Now, when I mean any Barrett, every one of them. 50 cal, M87, M107, the Rec 7. Any Barrett. Okay? The Beretta AR-70. I'm not even sure what that is. Bushmaster, obviously. They can keep this one. They can absolutely take this one off the list. The Calico. What a shitty gun. Okay? Look it up. Setme, Colt, Daewoo. I don't even know what a Daewoo K1 or K2 is. Dragunov variants. Anything FN. Okay? The FAL, the F2000, the L1A1, M249, the P90, or sorry, PS90, the SCAR, the FAMAS, the HKG3, which I would love to have one of those, the HK41, the 43, the 94, the MP5, the PSG, the SL8, the UMP, which is another gun I wouldn't mind having, Manchester Arms Commando, I'm not sure what that is. There's 2 different ones. There's the Mark 45 and the Mark 9. The SAR 4800, the SIG AMT, the 550 in all forms, the SKS, the Spectre, Springfield Army. This was what I found interesting. The BM59, the G3, the SAR8, the SRR48, the SAR3, the M21, the M1A. It doesn't even have a detachable magazine. Obviously, the M&P 15, anything Smith & Wesson variant, Sterling Mark 1, Sterling suck anyways, the Steyr AUG, the FAMAS, the Uzi in all variants. Stupid. Now, this they only talking about assault rifle types. Anything also what's interesting is a semi-automatic rifle that has an overall length less than 30 inches. So, your AR pistols, they're gone. Here's something else that's super frustrating. A conversion kit, which, I don't know, I think they're just talking about, let me read it. A conversion kit, part, or combination of parts from which an assault weapon can be assembled, from which a firearm can be converted into assault weapon if those parts are in the possession or under control of the same person. So you cannot have a parts kit. It doesn't matter. You can't. Now, I'm assuming they're going after like the polymer 80 type stuff or 80% lowers, but it doesn't matter because if you have parts that turn your gun into an assault rifle. So, anyway. there's a lot of interesting stuff, and you might think, well, it sounds just like California's problem. No, they're not even letting Washingtonians use like the little paddle thing to remove the pistol grip feature off their ARs. No, that's illegal too. This is by far the most overreaching and comprehensive on the terms of gun restriction assault weapon bill out there. Now, why would I say that they're going to classify shotguns and handguns as assault weapons? Because they say anything that has a detachable magazine that can take more than 10 rounds. Well, detachable magazine and more than 10 rounds. I've got Glocks that take detachable magazines. Obviously, I've got rifles that take detachable magazines. I've got 22 little, like the 1022 that takes a detachable magazine. It's gonna go that far. The government has already shown their hands on this. The lefties have already shown the cards that they want this any gun off the street, except for maybe Grandpa's bolt action. But when they say military style, well, look at the '03 Springfield, patterned after the Mauser. Both military style weapons. The 1911 military style. The Smith & Wesson revolver. The Colt Navy. Military style weapon. They were all used in the military style. Unlike the AR-15, the 1911 was issued. So ridiculous. Washington, you better start putting God back in your lives so you can have some freedoms, because you're getting pushed out of the state if you believe in God and your God-given rights. You're losing your state. It's basically gone. You better stand up and say enough. Every other state in the Union, my home state of Idaho, we're neighbors. And all you wackos that are moving from eastern Washington are coming up into Coeur d'Alene or coming down into Boise, like from Oregon, and you're screwing up the state on purpose. I think a lot of it is on purpose. You're turning a free state into a communist cesspool. It's a septic tank, and you're just spreading the poop around. Stop it! Now it's my turn to rant a little bit. Why are we having to talk about these ridiculous assault weapons bills? Why? Because every gun owner has put their faith in trash gun rights organizations like the NRA, and I'm sure there's some others out there, but the NRA is obviously the biggest fish in the water, that have done nothing for our rights. Nothing. Zero. At least not in the last 15 years. Nothing. Nothing. You wasted your money thinking that, oh, you're pro-gun, you're doing so well. You're not. You didn't do anything. Now is the time to do something. Get off your lazy butt. Get on the phone to your congressman. Get on the phone with your representation. Call Washington. Be respectful, but be assertive. The government is limited by the Constitution, not the other way around. The people have the power. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. We, the people. You have allowed yourself to be bullied. Look at that. I'm so frustrated. I'm hitting my mic around. You've allowed yourself to be bullied because you don't want to upset the apple cart. In the meantime, your state is burning to the ground. Michigan, what the hell? What the hell? I mean, we've known California's garbage for years. Beautiful state. but messed up. Texas, they're coming for you. If you fall, you're like the 5th largest GDP in the world, Texas. And I know you said, well, this Texas never going to happen. Yeah, have you looked at Austin? Texas, wake up. Idaho, wake up. Utah, wake up. Montana, Wyoming, Arizona, Alaska, wake up. Once these other states start crumbling, we're next. We're next. We have to stand up and say no more. Now, you're going to be called all sorts of names. You're going to be called a bigot. You're going to be called a homophobe. You're going to be called racist. You're going to be called everything they can think of. Sticks and stones, my friend. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. You need to be tired of being told shut up and sit down. You need to be tired of it. You're adults, damn it. Act like it. If you owned a business, I own a business. If you owned a business and you had employees do whatever they want, start saying that they need raises and then not doing their job, would you then allow them to keep working for you? I know I wouldn't. If they didn't listen to me and the things I asked them to do, if they did whatever they wanted, that's a waste of my mind, my time, and my money, and my mind. And I'm going to fire them. They're going to be streamlined. I don't need them. The politicians in your state capital, I guarantee a lot of them you don't need. They're just wasting money, wasting space. Fire them. We are the boss. You and I. And here we sit, having this ridiculous conversation, listening to some bald guy just bitch and moan about stuff. Why? Because the employees are running amok, not doing what they're told. The insane are running the asylum. And we let them. And we let them. It's a shame. Absolute shame. Oh, excuse me. We need to talk about something uplifting. I need a drink. My goodness. What's fun and new in my world? Well, so started a new project. If you follow me on Instagram on The Real Steve Zimmerman, not on the Range Minded side. By the way, we do have an Instagram account, Range Minded Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Range Minded. Been trying to do some YouTube stuff. I mean, especially when I start adding things to my plate, other things kind of start to fall off. There's no such thing as multitasking. It's multi-misfunctioning. At least it is for me anyways. Anyways, started a new project. It's called High Point Plastics. It's not necessarily my business, but I'm heavily involved in what goes on in that business. What do we do? Well, we do thermoforming. Hopefully that expands to some other ways. We do some laser etching and laser cutting. And I'm not going to talk about future plans, but hopefully by the end of the year, maybe a little bit later, we'll have some other big stuff that we do. Kind of excited about it, kind of nervous about it too, right? It's this crazy time in the economic whirlwind to start any sort of a business. But maybe it's the most effective time too. I don't know. So anyways, I need to post more stuff about that so you see what we can do, or see what we have been doing. We have one specific customer that is very eager to get product out. So between that and my other day job, which is a carpenter, between those two things, it's been keeping me pretty busy. And then family life after that is just I'm really tired. I'm really tired. But I'm hoping all this stuff works out. I'm hoping that we can get some interesting products out that'll go across, lots of different industries. Nick, I know he's hanging down in Salt Lake. I'll let him talk about it next time he's on. He's a very busy dude. If you haven't noticed, he's been pushing a lot of stuff on his new Omni-Carry holster phase 3 or Mark 3, whatever he's calling it. The latest adaptation of the Omni-Carry. Pretty amazing holster. You need to jump on his website if you're looking for a holster or for other things. He does Patriot trays and other things like that for your safe organization. You need to jump on there and buy something from him. Okay, Nick is a stud. Yes, he is still part of the podcast. Usually by the time I think about recording the show, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I remembered, crap, I've got to do something. So that's one reason why he hasn't been on. But he's still a homie. We still love Nick. Anyways, yeah, that's probably about it. Please, friends. I don't just monologue just to monologue. I don't just sit here to waste an hour of my night. Actually, it's more than that by the time I get stuff recorded and published on the different servers. Like, I don't just do this for my own pleasure. I don't get paid to do this. But I am passionate about our freedoms. I'm passionate about the Second Amendment. And you need to be too. I honestly feel like there are far more people that care about this country than there are that don't. And you guys got to stand up. You have to. We can't sit idly by and just hope things get better. We have to be active. One thing that the anti-gunners, the far left, are very effective at is having a voice. They may fill it full of propaganda and lies, and honestly, sometimes the pro-gun side does it too. But the left is far more effective at it. Now, their numbers are fewer. I am convinced of that. But nothing speaks louder than an individual. Think about that. Each one of us have the ability to communicate to 100 of our Facebook friends. Or we have the ability to get on live and share something on Instagram or YouTube or whatever that millions could see. We have the voice. We just need to use it. Take courage, friends, and be of good cheer. Don't be dissuaded by all the negative news, even when I'm the one sharing it. Don't give up. Don't give up. You have a purpose. You're here on this earth, in this country, in the best country in the world. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. We just need to find that purpose. Maybe that's being a voice. Maybe that's being an advocate, not just for the Second Amendment, but for freedom. Because when you're an advocate for freedom, that is all the Bill of Rights. That's speech. That's religion. That's the ability to assemble and petition a government. That's the ability to keep and bear arms. That's the ability to not be thrown into trial without the ability to face your accuser, to have a speedy trial, to keep the government from housing troops in your house. Who knows? We might think that's a stupid amendment, but at some point, maybe that will happen again. We don't know that. You have fundamental rights. Those fundamental rights are given to you by, I believe, by God. This country was set aside for us, for a free people. And that is not bound by color, by race, by sexual orientation. It's for all people. Citizens, I have nothing against legal immigration. My dad was an immigrant. They're God-given rights. We need to preserve them, or we're going to be held accountable for when those rights are gone. When we have to face our children or grandchildren and talk about the good old days, and they'll say, why isn't it like that anymore? We're going to be held responsible. The greatest days are still yet to come. I'm confident of that. We have to just weather the storm. But we can't weather the storm hunkered down. We have to get out and talk about how severe the storm is so other people see it. Friends, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Well, it's night when I recorded it. I don't know when you're going to listen to it. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you like what you hear on the show, listen to some of the other shows as well. If you like it, give us a rating. Whatever podcast service you're doing. Share us with a friend. Give us a thumbs up, a 5-star. Follow us on the Instagrams, on the Facebooks, on the YouTube, whatever else. Whatever social media app we're on. Even Rumble. I don't put much on Rumble. I'm still trying to figure that out. Help the community grow. The purpose of this show is to create good stewards of the Second Amendment. And we need to create that everywhere. And united we can. Friends, thank you. Have a good night. Get back to work. Get to bed. Whatever you're doing. Peace out. And by the way, take somebody's shooting.